Hello and welcome back to 9 Acres of Nothing podcast. I'm Dale with 9 Acre Family Farms, and
I'm
with
Ginger.
me
Oh,
is
Ginger from Not For Nothing Homestead. Hey, Dale.
hey,
How
what's
are
going
you?
on? We
Not
always
much.
are. We're always a little bit. We gotta feel things back out every
Yes.
week, huh?
Yes. It's kind of like we want to steal each other's words, kind of. I don't know. And I'm trying to fix the lighting here. I've got so much sunshine coming in here. But hopefully bear with it, guys.
Hey, don't steal my sunshine.
Don't steal my sun. Oh, I won't. I'll leave it for you.
Sounds like to me you guys might need that sunshine there.
I was just thinking, I'm so happy to have sunshine after a couple of days of nothing but pure flooding. But just want to let you guys know this is a pre-recorded podcast that Dale and I are recording, and we're going to put out to you later on.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that is something that we'll bring up is this seems to be going very well received by people.
Yes.
Most of the comments I'm getting from my side, and I know you have expressed that also, is very positive. People are liking the podcast, so we're going to continue on with the podcast, hopefully.
Yes.
And broaden things out here, of course. So
Yeah.
don't think it'll always be the Ginger and Dale show. We'll probably involve some others along the lines, but
Yes.
we'll just have to keep coming back to find out all that.
Yes, you will. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned for more.
Yes, absolutely.
So how has this week been? I know you talked about storms. What else is going on you guys' place this week?
Well, we got to start out with our verse of the day.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yes.
Let me get that pulled up.
And then I'll go into
And then you'll go into it?
Yes, because Dale and I uncovered another verse. We said we were going to bring you a verse at the beginning of every podcast. And we're excited about this week's because it has nailed it. It has really, if you have livestock, obviously you're watching this and you're really going to love this verse. We both have just grown absolutely super fond of it in just the short amount of time that we found it.
So today's verse comes from John chapter 10, verse 2, reads, "The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice." And I'm going to continue reading because I think it's really good. It says, "He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all of his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice." And we've talked quite a bit about the fact that this verse speaks exactly what we're talking about with raising livestock. We touched on it last week. You did, talking about Wilbur and Daisy and Link and how they just they know you by your voice.
Yes.
They, as soon as you come out, if you just say their name, they're excited.
Yeah.
And when you're truly doing this as this homestead, farm life as you should, your livestock should have that type of attitude with you. They trust you. They know you.
Yes.
And what a perfect verse for
isn't it?
How we should be leading our own homes, our own piece of Eden. And then also how well our Father knows us
Mm-hmm.
and how we know Him. As long as we are in the Word, we follow along, right? Uh,
Yes. And
so
whether you are doing it just to, like, if your livestock is for some sort of production, um, pork, you're growing them out. That doesn't mean that you don't become personally attached to them. I mean,
that's
you
right.
not to the point where they're a pet or something like that, but you want them to know you. You want them to, you know, you just want that connection. And you want to treat them well, whether they are for, in the end, if they're going to freezer camp or not, you want to treat them well. So,
That's so true. I mean, we I've expressed it several times. I know that you and Joey live by it too. That
mhm.
truly want to make sure they have one bad day. We
Yes.
we overly love them till that point.
Yes.
We
And
want
I saw a short this week on Nana 9 Acres of some little floppy eared guys with peppers falling out of their mouth, and they were getting some good treats.
oh, she
And
spoiled them rotten, I'm telling you. And
they're
that's the
so
thing
cute.
about us is it's those little joys, and we want to make sure that they are very happy while they're here. I mean,
Mhm.
so we make sure that we utilize those kitchen scraps, those scratch vegetables, as we've talked about before.
Mhm.
Um, for one, it cheapens up the feed.
Yes.
For two, you can just see like the little tails go to wagging, the ears go to flopping. They get to getting the zoomies. They
Yeah.
love getting their little treats of, the pumpkins. I'm still got people that I've got, my my tribe around here. I've told them all, if you have pumpkins left over from your decorations, I'm all about them. And I'm
Mhm.
still getting pumpkins. I know we're getting into December, but people have held on to them for so long, and now they're getting rid of them. And as long as they're not like pumpkin mush, I'm all
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah,
And
I even went to a local farm stand,
yeah,
and they had all of their pumpkins half off. And then after that, she said, come see me on such and such a day. And because we get rid of all of them
yeah,
at that point. And I went up there and they filled up the bed of my truck.
that's awesome.
So I still have, like, one of those pull behind gardening carts that's got
Oh
4
yeah,
wheels, and I mean,
yeah,
it's like a four-wheel drive. I still have one of those filled with pumpkins. The little yellow ones, some of the bigger orange ones, some of the knobby ones. I mean, they like them all. They love them all.
So one group actually gave me, and I don't know if you even classify them as, I classify them as decoration pumpkins. They're more
Yes.
of a gourd than they are a pumpkin. In fact,
Mhm.
the outside of them is kind of hard. And I
Yeah.
didn't even know if they would eat them. They went berserk. They loved those hard things. And the kind of tuber, they almost look like a sweet potato style pumpkin.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yes.
the sugar pumpkin, I guess some people call it. Um, I had some of those. Oh, the fight was on over those. Not
I
literally the
bet.
fight, but you know what I mean.
Yes, yes.
And
To get the
everybody's
fight
like,
to get into it.
"Oh yeah," everybody was like, "Well, do you cut them all up?" And I'm like, "No, I just throw the whole thing in there with them."
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
and they go to town. But I've got it down to I feed them, depending on the size, 3 to 4 a day, just
Yeah.
you know, for not only is it good for them, but it's like a little snack, and
Mhm.
they all get excited for it. Um,
It
and
provides them entertainment, so they're not,
oh
like,
my gosh,
moving up
I'm
the
telling you,
fence.
yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, if you think that they go crazy over pumpkin, get some watermelon. You
Mhm.
um, even if it's just the rinds after you get done eating the red stuff, or the inside out of it. If you just give them the
Yeah.
rind, they'll go nuts. So will your
Mm.
chicken.
Yes. Yes. The chickens do love
They
all of it. And
love that.
like you said, they're all good for them.
Oh yeah.
They're both the watermelons and the pumpkins are so good for them.
The only thing we found so far, we've done quite a bit of research, and I know some people have said that they feed it to them. I know I fed a little bit years ago um, of tomato, like when you're pulling out your garden at the end of the
Mhm.
year, those tomato vines, they say that those are actually poisonous. I would
Yeah.
think that would have to eat a ton of them, but uh, we don't run the risk anymore. We just go ahead and compost those
Yeah.
uh, because nowadays there's getting to be a lot of investment in those little piglets. A
Yeah.
lot of investment.
We covered the cost already and we
Yeah,
covered the infrastructure. So you've got all that. You surely don't want to just toss something over the fence that's
you
going
don't
to
want to toss something over
do
there,
the end.
and then yeah, and then you can't. I don't know. I don't know about you, but if I lose one, I mean it truly is heartbreaking all the way
Mhm.
around, and
Yeah.
especially if I lost one due to it something I fed it is
Yes.
what bothered it.
Yeah, and that you would be beside yourself if that happened,
Oh,
and
I
I know
would.
I would too. I would too. Yeah.
So we've kind of talked about up to this point. We talked about when we got them. We've talked about infrastructure. We've talked about feed, water. This all started off with preparing for winter and the
Yes.
watering. Um, now we're getting to about the only topic left out of the pig discussion is when you get to that end of the time that you have with them. When it's
Yes.
getting close to freezer camp travel day, if
Yeah.
you're going to travel to a processor, or maybe
Yeah.
you're processing it yourself. Either way,
Yeah.
you still have that day
Yes.
and
Looming.
glooming day.
If you're smart, um our best advice is when you get that pig within the first couple of months, figure out your freezer camp trip day and call your processor and make an appointment because I'm going to tell you right now, this time of year, because we got them, they were 8 weeks old. We got them I believe we got them in March, or it was the beginning of April. But so this time of the year is now they're ready. It's time to go.
Oh yeah,
And the processors are overrun with deer
oh yeah.
because it's that season where now everybody's hunting and in Georgia, we're going to be able to hunt all the way until I think it's January 14th. I'd have to check I know I have it written down, but so into January, that processor is going to be loaded with venison. So
Yeah.
you're going to want to get yours in there too, your pig in there too, because I think they do that a little bit different because you have to take them live.
Well, yeah. I mean, the pig, you can't. In fact, I had someone one time that bought a pig from me for a processing pig, and that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to come out to my place, and he actually wanted to um, dispatch it himself and then haul it into the processor. And I told him, I said, well, I don't have a problem with you dispatching it yourself if you're going to work it up yourself. I
Mhm.
said, but we can't take one that's dispatched into the processor.
Mhm.
And he was like, why not? And I said, well, the inspector won't allow that, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
um, because of diseases and things along that line. They want to make
Mhm.
sure that that's a healthy animal that they are harvesting, you know.
Yes.
Now, everyone says, well, I can do that with my deer. I can do that with my, you know, whatever kind of wild game. Well, there's special exceptions for that. And along that line is there's not an inspector sitting there inspecting those.
Yeah.
You know, in our state, there isn't, you know.
Mm-mm.
Um, in other words, they're doing it 100% custom. And
Yes.
depending on your area, you may have a custom processor that may be willing to do that. I just don't really understand the whole idea behind it.
Yeah.
Um,
Why would you want to dispatch it and then haul it in? I
I
mean,
don't.
there is
I,
a kill feed. I don't know if I'm assuming I can say that word, but there is a, or should I say, dispatch fee.
yeah,
But it's not that much,
no.
and you're going to spend way too much back breaking time trying to load something
Oh
that you
yeah.
have dispatched. Yeah, that's that. No, I'm gonna pay the dispatch fee.
So for me, that goes along where we're heading to with this. Will actually go along with today's verse, and
Hmm.
that's, you know, that they know our voice.
Hmm.
Um, they know us by our demeanor, by our voice, by our. And Ginger and I have had several conversations about um, the Green Mile Day coming up for their precious Wilbur.
Hmm.
And you know, I try to be guidance with people along this that, you know, a pig especially is an animal that cannot be herded, as
Hmm.
far as you cannot force a pig to go where it doesn't want to go. Now, does that mean that yes, I can use sorting boards and everything and I
Hmm.
can try to make that animal go the opposite direction? But
Yeah.
truly, think about if you're spending that amount of time with the animals like you should be doing, caring for them like we've been talking about, they know you. They know your
Hmm.
voice. They can sense, you know, if I'm upset and I stomp to the pig pen, my pigs are all on edge and they go to the
Yes.
opposite side of the pen.
Hmm.
They know my demeanor. They know how they can sense that kind of stuff.
I was
So
just going to say that they can say animals pick up on that. They get your vibe. They feel it.
that's exactly right. And you
Yeah.
know, biblically, you know, and I don't, and for me, of course, I boil everything down to biblical,
Hmm.
and you know, these everything of this world was given to us by our Lord and Savior to take care of. You know,
Yes.
it's the birds and the animals of the field I give to you for food, you know, and there's scripture that goes along with that. So it's the same way with our livestock. They are our livestock for us to truly take care of. So when we come close to that processing day, don't change your normal habits, right?
Hmm.
So um,
Because again, they're gonna sense it. They're
they're
gonna
going to
pick up
sense
on
it.
it. Yeah.
So, you know, the conversations that I've had with individuals is, you know, if Dale, if me, or if Ginger on her farm is the individual that always goes out and tends to the waterer, is the one that always goes out and fills the feeder, the one that
Hmm.
interacts with them in the pen. Don't bring 5 or 6 people in there that, you know, they may be part of the farm, but they're not part of that usual chore.
Yeah.
Because if you
That would be
bring
like
all of
if
you, go ahead.
Braden never had any hands on, and then all of a sudden he's in there with you, and you're trying to get one of the little domestic terrorists. I know you're never going to catch them. Those little buggers are fast. I watched
They're
them.
fast, fast.
It would
But
be like, 'cause I know you said you're going to thin out what you have. So, I mean, you go in there and you're going to try to catch one. Yeah, you better just lead that one. Whichever one comes, that's going to be the one we try to get.
Yeah. So, like for us, you know, we make sure that when it comes that day and we have to load that animal up to take it to freezer camp, take it to the
Mhm.
processor, we do a little work ahead of time. We
Mhm.
set up the pen. We make sure that we have our trailer setting there, so that they're used to that noise of that trailer. They're used to that smell. They're used to that.
Yeah.
You know, we may set that trailer up next to the pen for a week or two, and just every day when you go out to feed, you just open and close the gate on the trailer. So they get used to that screech and that bang and
Mhm.
that squall and that noise, you know. Um, the other thing, we we make sure that our pen is set up so that it has a offshoot to the pen that's like a separate area, say a loading ramp or a
Mhm.
loading pen. And speaking
Yeah.
of ramp, that's the next thing. We're talking about a pig. Yes, if it's out there in a pasture, that dude can jump over a 55-gallon barrel when he wants to.
Yeah.
But if you put a new trailer out there and you're wanting them to go in that trailer, that's going to look like the edge of the Grand Canyon to them. They're not
Mhm.
going to want to go in there.
Yeah.
So we try to make it like gradual ground. The trailer that we
Mhm.
use actually has a ramp attached to it because we
Mhm.
used it for show pigs for years, that we can lay down, has a rubber mat on it, so it's got traction, and then we'll actually take wood chips and throw on the ramp and
Yeah.
throw on the ground so it doesn't look like there's a big transition.
Mhm.
Then we'll feed in that trailer. And we
Yeah.
intentionally wait to not feed them that
Mhm.
day so that they're hungry. They want to go to
Mhm.
feed. And if you've truly done your job to where they know your voice, they're going to follow you. You send that one person
Mhm.
or two to do nothing but that. You feed them in the
Yeah.
trailer, they go in the trailer, and then you don't get in a great big hurry. I mean, there's times that you need to move with a hurry, but this should be a calm process.
Mhm.
Calm process beforehand leads to a good quality at processing.
Yes. And that makes sense because again, they pick up on you and what you're doing. Um and if you feed them in a like I have a blue bucket, if you go down there with a blue bucket every day, if you switch and you're feeding them with something else, they're going to be like, "Wait, I'm not going to that. That's not that blue bucket. I
That's
know that blue bucket has the good stuff."
To me, that is, you uncover something right there that I hadn't even thought about saying, but that's so true. So many
Mhm.
people don't keep that in mind. The style of bucket, the side of
Mhm.
the pen that you feed them from. The
Mhm.
Do you usually get in the pen with them when you take care of them, or do you do everything from the outside?
Yeah.
You know, just getting in the pen with them one day, the day that you're wanting to load them, when you've never stepped foot in there before,
Mhm.
they're going to be
Yeah.
like, wait, what's going on here?
Right. Yeah.
Why are you in here? You
Yeah.
know? Um,
Yep.
so I think this brings up a really good time. So you and Joey are getting ready to process, and I know others are involved there, Wilbur.
Mhm.
So from your standpoint, what are some of your apprehensions? What are you running into mentally, but to prepare yourself for this?
Well, you always say you're prepared until the day gets here. I am prepared as far as mentally. I mean, I accepted that from the very beginning, but I have treated him with the utmost respect, just like, any of the other animals throughout the time.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and so that part, uh, you know, I'm, I'm good with that part. My apprehension is, and don't make the mistake that we made, is that we put the gate of the actual pig pen at the highest point of the pen itself. And
Yeah, because
that
yours is
is going to be,
on an extreme angle, right? It's
yes,
going downhill.
yes. And so I can see, well, in one way I can see, because he's actually gotten used to that. And when I give them the pumpkins that we've gotten, all the whole poop ton of
Yeah,
pumpkins that we got,
yeah,
I have them come up to the top where I'm at by the gate and throw a pumpkin in there. So they come up there a lot. So they're used to coming up and down that terrain. Now
yeah.
he's going to have to come up a little bit further. The challenge of getting him up there, I don't think is going to be too hard. On the gradual thing, to try to make it gradual into the trailer. It is the getting the trailer and the vehicle out of there. There's an angled area that's a little dicey, and I'm like, okay, so hindsight's 2020. So I'm going to tell you, when you build your pen, your infrastructure, you have got to take into consideration things like this, because
Yes.
lesson learned, hindsight 2020. Uh, we didn't. And now we're going to be faced with the consequences. It should something happen and something go wrong, we're going to have to figure it out. And
So
I
yeah,
mean,
that's so many people, they're in such a hurry to get their infrastructure put up that they can't see the forest because of the trees.
and you're so excited to have those animals, and the
Yes.
thought of raising your own food, and oh my gosh, and we're on it, and most of the time then you end up forgetting something, and that is completely how we have
So like
faced.
our setup in the initial startup pen and then the finish pen, the gate going into it is next to a barn. So when the gate is shut for it to go outside, it gives access to the barn. Once you go in the barn, you can open the gate to go to the outside. It
Mhm.
blocks it off so none others can come in. And
Oh,
that pig only has one option, and that is to go back out of the barn.
okay.
So the other thing that I've told Ginger before, when we were talking about this, is so many people, going back to this driving the pig, they don't take in consideration that you have a pig on the scale of an animal is an extremely intelligent animal.
Mhm.
You have to make sure that they can logically demise that there is no other option other than to load on the trailer,
Mhm.
because they're going to constantly try to go back how they got into that pen, to go back
Mhm.
home. So we have to make sure that that area is secure enough that that's not an option for them. And before
Mhm.
we start yelling and pushing and screaming and whatever to get them to go the other way, just take a moment and observe the situation, a calming moment, and let them
Mhm.
figure it out on their own. There's no other option other than what we want them to do.
Mhm.
Um, One of the best examples I ever seen of this was, for years, I would help out at county fair, and we would have the premium auction, and we would have 30 to 40 head of hogs that had never seen each other before in an unfamiliar place. You know, they'd been there for a week or so, and they
Mm-hmm.
have an auction, and then we were loading them out on the buyer's trailer that night that bought all of them. And
Yeah.
there was an old truck driver that was hauling for um, that buyer. I mean, by old, we're talking like this gentleman was in his 70s and had drove livestock trucks his whole life. And we're sitting there,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got all those pigs, and you got all these random people that all want to come and help, you know. And they're all hooping and hollering and carrying on and trying to get pigs to load up. And finally, this old man, he goes, "Hey, stand still." And everybody's like, "What?" He's like, "Just be quiet, stand still." Everybody just stopped. And those pigs are just like a mixing bowl inside of that pen. They're just
Mm-hmm.
constantly going and going and going. And all of a sudden, all those pigs finally stopped. And he literally goes, "Ha," like that.
Mm-hmm.
And every pig went up the ramp and loaded on the trailer.
Oh my
He,
gosh.
he
That
said, "You
is.
have to let them figure out there's no other way." And
Mm-hmm.
once that happened, it made it so simple. So the crew of
Yeah.
us that loaded for years after that, still to this day, that's
Mm-hmm.
how we operate.
Yep.
Like we keep it to just a select few of us, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a calm operation. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
um, our emotions are already high because of what we're doing, and if you're not getting emotional, if you're not feeling somber about the situation, if your not senses aren't heightened about it, you probably need to do some self searching, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yes.
this should be it is a joyous occasion because of what the Lord has provided you, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also done with reverence.
Yes.
Um, and that's where I think like the farmstead meat smith, that shows you how to butcher at home and stuff like that and do it yourself. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that home butchery that is really great. Like you
Mm-hmm.
give them a can of feed in their natural environment, they think it's the same as any other day of the week, and it's
Yes.
over.
Yes.
There's so many good benefits to that. The problem is for so many of us, we don't have any of the infrastructure it takes to be able to process that animal.
Yeah.
We don't have a cooler. We don't
Mm-hmm.
have we don't have a gin pole or a loader or something along a tractor and a loader so that we can handle that animal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, I that's kind of why we use a processor for us.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Because it is labor intensive.
it's labor intensive. It's infrastructure. I mean, you got to have freezers, upright freezers, and all kinds of stuff, and freezer.
Mm-hmm.
You've got offal that you got to take care of, so all the innards and
Yeah.
hide,
And
or if scraping, you got to deal with a whole lot of hot water and figure out how I'm going to heat that up, and so it's all this kind of stuff that I'm not saying is a bad thing. In fact, I love every bit of it. It's
yeah.
just I don't have the time, I don't have the infrastructure, nor do I
Mm-hmm.
have the labor here to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And that infrastructure would cost a lot of money.
It
So
does.
it's better to just, I mean, unless you already have it, just take it there. And I will definitely let everybody know how it goes. I will take mental notes and because that's just a week away. So the next time we air a podcast, by that time it will have happened. And
Actually, when this podcast comes out, I think is actually Green Mile Day, isn't it?
the next day.
Yep.
The next day is the day. Yeah. So be praying for us, obviously, for it to go smoothly, because I don't want him upset. I mean, I
No.
want him to feel like it's any other day. So,
Yep.
just be praying for everything to go over real smoothly for everybody involved. And I will, again, take mental notes and I will let everybody know how it goes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think this can kind of close out, other than, the little update afterwards. We could probably start talking about some other livestock maybe in
Yes.
the next episode.
Yeah.
And I don't know, rock, paper, scissors. Chickens probably make the next logical thing, being that both of our farms have chickens
Hmm.
on them.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and then we can kind of really get into the garden talk, which I
Yes.
know Ginger's gonna love, and
I'm very excited about that.
I'm gonna be the guy that's gonna sit here and go, yeah, okay. Nah, I'm teasing, but
No, you have a lot of experience too.
I
So,
do. Um, so I think this will probably be a good place for this week's episode. Um,
yes.
remember our verse, John 10:2. We both encourage you to read the whole chapter of John, chapter 10, is
Yes.
very good. Very,
Yes.
very good.
Yes. You will
Uh,
you will feel like you are in it.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely will.
Mm-hmm.
So, till next time, any words of wisdom till we meet again?
Nope. Again, sorry about the lighting. I've been trying to use a little side light that I have, and that's actually not making it much better. But no, just our normal go grow your homestead.
Go grow your homestead.
Yes.
See you
And
next time, guys.
God bless.